And welcome back, everybody, for our final trailgating show of the 2025 Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc. My name is Dylan Bowman, joined by an all-star cast of characters, some legends from UTMB history here for many different reasons. Starting at the end of the couch, the voice of UTMB joining us for the second time this week. Keith Byrnes, how are your vocal cords doing?
Oh, actually, the studio is so much easier than compared to being at the start-finish line.
Yeah.
At the start-finish line, you're shouting. It's a lot more physical. Yeah. The studio is more mentally draining, I think, than physically. But no, I mean, after those 3 days of racing, who cannot be energized and like, let's go out trail running.
Yeah. You did such a good job this week, but
Thank you. Good team effort, of course.
Yeah, a good team effort. I hope you're really, really proud, though. In the center of the couch here, the guy who is, in some ways, I feel like responsible for putting this thing on the map 2 decades ago, Mr. Topher Gaylord. What's up, bro?
Right on. Happy to be here. I've got a little whiskey tender going from just shouting my brains out along the UTMB course, the CCC course, the OCC course. But fired up to be here and fired up on another year at UTMB.
Yeah, and you have probably put in two of the biggest training weeks of anybody in Chamonix here. So,
I've been snacking hard on the mountains. It's been great.
It. Last but not least, the great Kim Gaylord, a previous TDS podium finisher, correct?
Yeah.
What year was that?
2009.
Wow. Okay. So
that was a great year.
Going back.
Thank you.
Joined by
But
UTMB royalty.
Now we come to UTMB. For us, it's like going to Burning Man. This is like, for us, what we love.
Yeah. And you guys are the unofficial ambassadors for dozens of people who make this an annual pilgrimage, ourselves included. Before we launch into it, thank you to the team behind the scenes, Harmony Bowman, Ryan Thrower, Brett Jorgensen. We have all been working our tails off this week, and thank you to the Freetrail team. Also Travis back home, who has been crushing it on fantasy and our new trail running analytics platform. Also, please do subscribe to the channel while you're here, and a big thank you to Hoka for supporting our coverage throughout the week. It's been so awesome to, again, partner with them for the 3rd year in a row, bouncing back from Western states. It is such a privilege to be able to do what we do here in Chamonix, and we couldn't do it without Hoka. So thank you to them. Launching into the docket here, we got a lot to get to, so we're going to have to kind of keep things moving here. But Keith, I want to tee you up first. Take a victory lap, buddy. The Brits are back on the map. Tom Evans, first place. Josh Wade has a big breakthrough here, a newer name to probably many people this weekend. So before we bury you with some American statistics, please have a chance to celebrate your fellow Brits.
Yeah, in the prediction show, I called out, there was a good chance that we were going to get at least 3 Brits in the top 10. At Champex-Lac, we had 3 Brits in the top 5, but sadly, John Albon and Tom Jolly, they didn't make it to the finish line. But yeah, Tom Evans and Josh Wade. First time we've had a male Brit since Jez Bragg on the rain adjusted course back in 2010. And obviously Lizzie Hawker is, flying the ultimate British flag when it comes to UTMB with 5 victories. But, Tom's victory was awesome. It was so good to see. And then also, we talked a lot on the show about the UTMB Academy. Tom's been racing here since 2017. Ruth since 2015. Josh Wade now slowly, not graduated yet, but he's moving up in terms of the UTMB Academy. Those years of studying the course, the experiences, and Tom Evans put everything all together in that little sweet spot that is called the top spot in the UTMB. So no, it was such a joy to follow that and do the commentary on that.
Do you have any specific info on Josh Wade? Because he's been having a great year. Transgran Canaria, Snowdonia, Lavaredo, now a podium at UTMB.
So yeah, Josh was at Lavaredo, and I saw him there and we had a chat, and Snowdonia was terrible for Josh. Within the first 2 hours, he was suffering with cramp, and he was so mad with himself. It was like, what's going on? So then John Albon got him onto gnocchi. It's like gnocchi is the new super fuel that will help with cramp. So Lavaredo, it was all over the gnocchi, didn't get cramp. Currently wasn't in the top 5 or anything like that, but that was a good result. And actually the team that manage him here in Europe at the beginning of this week, and I didn't want to put any more pressure on him, like keep an eye out for Josh this week, and I didn't want to say that. And so he was in a good space. And so, and his wife Mel was there all the way through the race. So it was great. And what I loved about Josh, and it's never guaranteed, he looked like he was having fun. Tom Evans talked about falling in love with trail running again. Josh Wade and Tom Evans, that was that was a full week of love running on the trail. So Josh is around today. He's like flying on seventh heaven. And so it was awesome to see that, and also to see Tom as well. So,
I want to connect with him. We'll eventually do a podcast with him here in the aftermath of
he's
UTMB.
a good lad, as they would say up north. Yeah.
Kim and Toph, tossing it to you. Comments just overall about this edition of UTMB. You guys have been here since the very beginning as it relates to the week itself, specifically to the big loop, to our champions, top line takeaways from 2025.
Well, I mean, I think this year the weather conditions were ferociously complex.
Yep.
And, although sort of since day two morning onto now, day one morning onto now, it's been perfect weather. That first night was as complex and complicated as it can be at UTMB. And, you had snow, you had wind, you had rain into snow. You had the best runners in the world donning their entire mandatory kit in Les Chapeaux and going across, Col de la Seine in absolute blizzard conditions. Mm-hmm. And, it was remarkable to hear Tom Evans talk about, like, he buddied up. They used the buddy system going across the mountains at night.
Yeah.
And
they're checking in with each other.
And I think that for me this year was those runners who managed to take care of themselves through the night, eat and fuel through the night, and manage their climate system through the night are the ones that came out on top. And because the other thing that's remarkable, given all of the complexity of the difficulty of the trail, you still had Tom going, close to sub 19. Obviously on a modified course, and you had Ruth running sub 23, which was very impressive given the conditions.
Yep. Kim?
I would for sure say the weather conditions definitely were super intense this year, really challenging. And of course, this race beats people up. So you got to be extra tough. But I'll tell you, this race every year just builds champions.
Yeah.
All the buildup UTMB does, the elite call-ups, what they do at the start line. This place, I'm not as familiar with Josh, and there's new names of people who figure out this race, come and execute. It's getting harder to stick it to get in the top 10, and I think it's interesting how some people make this their A race, don't over race, and come and get it done. It's hard.
One thing that stands out to me from the UTMB loop, the UTMB race, of course, we always talk about, Grand Col Ferret as being like a crux moment in the event, and it turned out that way for both the champions. Ruth made up 5 minutes on Courtney on that climb, and that's where Tom got away from Ben Demon going up over the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Pras de Fort that Ruth made the pass, but, it was all about managing the night, and Ruth said as much in our champions interview today. It was like, she put the waterproof pants on. She put the waterproof jacket on. She took care of herself during the night. She tossed out her previous strategy of wanting to be more aggressive last year, transitioned to just survive the night and then hope, to have wheels on the second day. And it all really paid off. So one of the major storylines coming out of this year's event, of course, Ruth secures the Triple Crown. Really enters, I think, the pantheon of all-time greats. Of course, in the recent decade, last 15 years, really, it's been all about, Killian and Francois and Courtney and Jim. But now Tom Evans and Ruth Croft, really, I feel enter this pantheon. Jim was in studio yesterday, and he made a point to give a shout out to both champions because they also are now Western States UTMB double champions. And for him, it was really cool to hear how much emphasis he puts on that in terms of, evaluating the careers of athletes. Comments just generally on the prowess of our champions. Ruth and Tom just put on such a great show, and there's a lot to admire about both.
Tom is a total pro.
Yeah.
from how he trained, the videos he did, and of his training coming into the race, and just like how he executed all the way down to his finish line, his iconic salute, to his finish line interviews. I mean, to the taking the shoe off, drinking the Red Bull. I mean, come on. Amazing.
Yes.
I would just add, the one comment, his finish line interview was exceptional.
Yeah.
And but one of the things he said in the interview was, this is a hard race to win, and if you want it too much, and I've wanted it too much, and I made mistakes, and I had to, measure myself. It was something along those lines.
I wrote it down too. We're going to talk with him about it
that'll
specifically.
be great to have him share thoughts there. But that nothing could be more true. And I think his idea of creating a buddy system through the night. I mean, he and Ruth actually ran very similar races in that they took care of themselves through the night, and they didn't rush it. They had patience. Ruth had patience. I mean, she sat on that big descent. It was so fun. And it's so fun now with the live broadcast that you see these moves on the course.
Yeah.
Like, you never used to see this. You're sort of like, what happened? All of a sudden a new runner comes into the next aid station. And to see the top three shuffle going down, the very last end of that descent down into Cert was amazing.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely clinical. But both are absolute professionals and absolutely worthy champions. Just awesome.
So cool. Also, they share the same coach. And we were all talking earlier in the week about how Tom mentioned he was working with this data scientist guy. We talked to Ruth about that today. I'm going to talk to Tom about that a little bit. But just illustration of, what it takes to be a professional in the sport here in 2025 and what it takes to win here on the sport's biggest stage. Keith, you have some really cool stoppage time stats I want to share with the audience.
That's good, because you just stole my two responses there about the coach and the data analyst.
Sorry, buddy.
But the other thing I had as a backup, if you did throw those out, so I'm already anticipating Debo now is polls, and I know you were talking about polls. Ruth and Tom and Martin, is Ruth's partner, was talking how Ruth has focused a lot this year on being better at using the polls. Tom, we can see, is also fantastic at using the polls. The polls are a big part of what they did. And then the other thing, talking about Ruth passing Courtney. Courtney, probably in hindsight, Courtney was struggling more on the downhill than the ups, because Ruth passed Courtney on the descent. Cami passed Courtney on the climb and couldn't break the elastic. They were together almost all the way into Champs-Lac. But the polls also. So we talked about the coach, the data analyst, the polls, and I know you were polls. That was your thing. And the polls have become not so much a secret weapon, but if you learn how to use them. And we had the king of polls in the studio, Petter Engdahl.
Yeah.
And we were asking Petter, are you a coach? And he said, no. I said, no, there's enough coaches out there. I said, Petter, if you offer yourself up as a coach purely on learning how to use polls, that could be your special superpower. So
the Scandinavians got it down, from all that Nordic stuff. The stoppage time stats are really interesting.
Yeah, so I was like, what possible stats does Dylan not have? And this was and so we were like, one thing we were looking at, and this was, to be fair, Stephanie Case called this out first, was we actually got the data on how much time did our top three men and women spend in the aid stations throughout the whole race. Tom, 13 minutes and 3 seconds.
Wow.
Ben Demon, 13 minutes and 4 seconds. Josh Wade, 14 minutes and 14 seconds.
That's incredible.
When you go to the CCC and the winner won by 18 seconds, so anyone listening to this who's looking at improving their times, whether you're at the front, the middle, or the back, this is a call. And then on the women's side, Ruth, 16:09. Cami, 20:42, and Katarina Hardmud, 26:44. So literally the top three, the winner of each of those spent the least time. It didn't make a difference in the end to the times who would have won, but just yet another thing. We talked about polls, the marginal gains that now runners are looking at. You've got the super shoes, you've got the nutrition, you've got the polls, aid station, the coach, the data analyst. there's lots of layers now to trail running.
Yeah, absolutely. I've written something about the 3 C's and how they're changing the sport. That's carbohydrates, carbon shoes, cooling techniques, and now Topher suggested we use the 4th C, chrono, with these data analysts. and actually a fun thing from the women's podium at UTMB that I'm not sure we've mentioned yet. Ruth, Camille, and Katarina, for all 3 of them, it was their second podium at UTMB. We talked throughout the week about how maybe with the weather, it would favor people with experience, and that maybe showed up in the women's podium.
Well, and remember, Katarina's 3rd at Hard Rock this year and 3rd here.
Yeah,
So
I want to talk
real
about
mountain gal.
doubles and Hard Rock and Western States specifically a little bit later. But Kim, tossing it to you, last thing I want to touch on with UTMB before we move to CCC, because we haven't talked about that yet. Courtney, we didn't get to see Courtney finish. When she entered when she entered Trient, we had seen her sort of walking down the hill into the aid station. Didn't look good, right? I think for most of the people watching the live stream, they probably assumed she would bail there. Valiantly made her way to the finish, still in 10th place, still a top 10 finish. But I don't know. I think it's worth spending a minute on it because she's transcended the sport. She's a 3-time champion. She's got nothing to prove, but she's still got a finish done.
I would have to say, I mean, I don't know really what her issues exactly were, but I'm sure there were new tools used to get out of that pain cave and get to Chamonix. We were in Chamonix, and the amount of people that came out to cheer Courtney was unbelievable, as you know, deserved for her to just grind it out, get it done. You know, obviously she suffered hard. And there was fun, the translation of Courtney in the pain cave, it auto translates to the bread seller. I thought that was pretty funny.
She did go to the bread seller.
She went to the bread seller.
That's nice in French. You know, I think it's tremendous when a champion like Courtney, you know, a GOAT champion like Courtney, digs deep and goes for a finish, even when she's not having her day. Clearly, she was going for the win, and it didn't go her way. And I think there's so much admiration and inspiration that comes from a champion digging deep and getting the job done on a day when it's not their day. Yeah. And, you know, I think she also felt the love every step of the way, even when that was the case. And I've never seen a person more satisfied dropping than having a finish that they weren't satisfied with. It's always better to finish. And I think it's a lesson, you know, when a champion like Courtney finishes, it's a lesson for everyone to take away of like, even when it's not your day, even when you got to go to plan B, plan C, plan D, you keep going unless you've got a physical mechanical problem. And that's a great lesson for all of us.
Keith, what was it like on the broadcast?
It was incredible. But what I wanted to say before that was that the UTMB index does not encourage you as an elite athlete to finish these races. It's like Courtney could bail and protect her current UTMB index. So there was a whole list of reasons why Courtney could have given up yesterday, but Courtney found all of the reasons. And, you know, I love using Ben Demon's quote, Courtney turned pessimism into optimism. She was given, and it was just in the chat, so many people were like, Courtney's still 10th. And her result on a bad day is so much better than anyone else's on a good day. So, and I've never seen the most popular 10th place finish ever at UTMB. And
for sure.
The comments were all about, if you're looking for, you know, especially female athletes, but also the male athletes, if you're looking for a role model, whether you're 5 years old or 55 years old, Courtney did that in spades yesterday. It was a joy. She had the crown on, going through the crowd in Vallecine. She was suffering, but then what I also loved was there was a moment in Vallecine where Kevin was talking to her, getting her ready for the last section, and the smile from Kevin, it was like a mirror image of Kevin and Courtney kind of just smiling. And I think there were more positives to get out of that than there were out of a lot of other things this week. And it was like, wow, did you see Courtney finish 10th? Yeah. And it was beautiful. And in the chat, there's always a good barometer of how people are feeling. It was just mind blowing how much love Courtney was getting for doing that. And then, hanging out with the kids, hugging the family. It was almost like the Courtney bingo card needs to get bigger because there was so many more boxes to tick. And there was a moment also just before Ruth caught her, there was 4 young girls running behind her. And it was just like, it was almost the Pied Piper of trail running and encouraging more young girls. This could be a sport for me. So we could talk all day about Courtney. And then we were also being called out in the chat, hey, let's not forget about Ruth. Because it was one of those, but two amazing human beings yesterday for different reasons.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Courtney's fans will remember this one just as much as the ones where, she's breaking course records or doing the Western States Hard Rock UTMB triple. So, obviously a lot to celebrate. And actually, Ruth mentioned this too, just speaking about the impact that Courtney has made on our sport, that they went through Saint-Gervais together. And that Ruth was like, you can't even believe the amount of fans that Courtney has. And just like seeing that firsthand, like she's just such a great ambassador for the sport. So congrats to Courtney for getting it done. Let's move to CCC. All week, we've been sort of talking about how the women's race at CCC was sort of like the race of the week. It lived up to the hype very much. So just wanting to spend a couple minutes on both the women's and the men's race here before we sort of move to sort of bigger storylines and takeaways from the UTMB festival this week. We had Martina Milnarczyk here in studio this morning. It was my first time meeting her, a great champion. She was second last year, first this year, DNF'd at Western States last year, golden ticket back next year. On the men's side, Francesco Puppi, now 3 podiums in a row at a world final, 2 at OCC, 1 at CCC. Comments on our CCC champions and also the prominence, significance, and competitiveness of CCC and maybe how that's changed in the last 20 years?
Well, I mean, CCC has been awesome. We're over on top of the Grand Col Ferret and watched that freight train go over the top. Yeah. And it was so impressive. Francesco, I think, was the odds-on favorite on the men's side for sure. But I think, he found himself pressured perhaps longer than he thought. We asked him last night and he said, well, it went about what I thought, but they hung on a little longer. Yeah. But it's tight. What's more impressive to me is how tight the clustering now is. Yep. In particular in CCC and OCC this year. Yep. And obviously being golden ticket races, we loved seeing Francesco now has to ponder whether next year's his year. He is winning golden tickets quite easily, so maybe he feels he can go whenever he's ready, but we're hoping he's ready next year because we'd love to see him line up.
I gave him the hard sell
for a 100-miler. He did say that when he is ready to run 100 miles, he intends Western States to be his first 100-miler, so that's awesome. Martina is exceptional. I mean, it was exciting to see her at Western States this year, and the wheels came off for her in the canyons, and then to come back and just execute and nail this race. Obviously, Hoka went 1-1 there on men's and women's side, and she's a incredibly talented runner. Very strong and powerful, and I hope she comes back to Western States as well.
She will be. She confirmed that. She said that was one of the reasons why she did CCC. So great champions. So while we're on the subject of golden tickets, let's just do this now. So Francesco Puppi first, David Sinclair second, Drew Holman in third. All of them are thinking about it, but they took the golden tickets from Craig Thornley, who presented it to him at the awards ceremony. What's cool about that is all 3 of those guys have previously declined golden tickets. So Drew, of course, is a 2-time top 5 finisher at Western States. So we'll see if Drew comes back, but it would be a debut for both David Sinclair and Francesco Puppi. And I've heard that Sinclair definitely intends to take the ticket and show up at Western States next year. On the women's side, Martina Milnarczyk was first. Sylvia Nordskar, I want to talk about the drama at the end of the race, was in second, Norwegian athlete, and Anna Tarasova. And from what I've heard, all three of them intend to take their golden tickets too. The women's finish, though, at CCC was incredible. Martina said in her champions interview that she had no idea how close Sylvia was, which I was surprised about because on that last climb up to the Flagere, you can look behind you. Like she must have intentionally just not looked behind her. And then all of a sudden it's a sprint. And this goes back to what you guys were saying about the advancement of the live broadcast now. Like we saw gyms come from behind victory, like in high definition.
Right.
We saw this battle on the final descent into the streets of Chamonix and CCC. We saw Ruth make the pass on Courtney when Camille was still only like 45 seconds back. The drama in the women's race in CCC, 18 seconds separating first and second. Again, lived up to the hype as the race of the week. Anybody want to take this, Keith?
Before when we were doing the prediction show with Corrine, we were talking about, are we going to get a sprint finish this year? Because that's all what we all want. Yeah. And we talked about the depth of the women's CCC, and then for the comment. So we'd seen all the way through the race that Anna Tarasova and Sylvia Nordskar, they were feeding. Early on we thought they were racing with each other. Yeah. They were just feeding off each other all the time. Sylvia dropped Anna a little bit on that last climb. So Martina goes through the top of the climb. They descend on that first section of the ski run. They drop into the forest. The camera guy's behind. Then all of a sudden, Sylvia passes the camera guy, and on the technical upper part, passes Martina. And we're like, oh my goodness. It settled down a bit. When it gets a bit smoother lower down, Martina then makes the next pass. Yeah. So literally on the gate going over the bridge going over the road, Martina's coming off the bridge as Sylvia's going. And this is like, we've never, ever had this before. Yeah. And then on top of that, Anna Tarasova is 90 seconds behind Martina at the finish line. So, and we'd already had a feast on the day before with the two men's and women's races. So this was like mind-blowing. And
Sylvia and Anna ran almost the entire race like together, at least within a minute or 90 seconds of each other.
We were convinced they were running together. And so it was the dream scenario as from the broadcast. Yeah. And everyone was just going nuts in the chat. So no, it was incredible. It was, wow. Martina was second last year.
Second last year.
Yeah, so this kind of the UTMB Academy.
I think she's a star in the making, honestly.
Yes. Yeah. So no, it was.
She's a beautiful runner. Yep. Her form, like watching her, just like, wow, that's amazing.
We talked about her ballerina background
Martina Ballerina. That was kind of the chat last year.
The rise of Poland, also a storyline. Very, very cool. Yep. All right, so Keith, I teed you up on the Brits, so we obviously need to give a shout out to our American boys here.
Yeah, we need to do that.
4 in the top 7, David Sinclair, Drew Holman. Jeshrin Small brings home his second top 5. He was 5th at OCC 2 years ago. And then Eli Hemming in 7th. Eli still hasn't quite figured out these longer distance races, but still great results from the American contingent.
He goes out hard and tries. It'll stick. It's coming.
100%. 100%.
The UTMB Academy, Demo. It's time served. It's time served.
I mean, he's an OCC champ.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to figure it out. Okay. Blandine Hirondelle, also great race, 4th place and consistent. I mean, she's part of the UTMB Academy.
100%. Yeah. And Blondine's, the emotions at the finish line, who could not be in tears as well. It was so powerful. And the crowd, again, another fan favorite. So yeah, Blondine was amazing.
Yeah.
And one thing that we picked up on in one of the aid stations in French, and Martin picked up on this, it was when Martina was ahead of Blondine. Blondine's like, how can I keep up with these tall running goddesses? And she said, I'm just this little boom, boom, boom. It was so funny. And there she is So, and then obviously she was also surrounded by these tall goddesses because Sylvia was behind her as well. So that was just such a funny moment from Blondie.
So cool. All right. So sort of last thing I wanted to get to here on CCC, I believe. Notable drops. Okay, we're going to come back and talk about doubles here in a second. But on the men's side, Chris Myers, Yu Pekwan, Alexei Sevenek, Tobias Geiser, Jordi Gamito. On the women's side, Ingvild Kaspersen, Tony McCann, both previous champions. Dani Moreno, Tabor Hemming, Azara Garcia. overall, much less attrition across all the races this year, which was great to see. But just wanted to give a shout out to those athletes. Obviously, everybody wants to have their perfect day here. Wasn't right for them this year. Tony McCann's fall was gruesome. She came in studio yesterday to help you call the morning action at UTMB, and she crushed it. So shout out to Dani. I'm sorry, to Tony. Excuse me for, being a champion and not sulking in an Airbnb like she probably wanted to.
We actually told Tony, don't come in the studio tomorrow because after that, go out on the course, do whatever you need to do. And she's like, no, I said I'm going to do it. I'm going to come in tomorrow. So again, like Courtney doing what she did, what Tony did in the studio, and the love that Tony was getting in the chat yesterday for showing up.
Yeah.
And she was amazing. It wasn't just, she was brilliant. So, and she said, no, she was back on the horse. And actually, so Tony McCann is, when Tony's finished running, she is a speaker.
Her entry and rise in the sport has been incredible.
Yeah.
What'd you think about her on the mic, Kim?
I thought she was incredible.
Future
I honestly
superstar.
was blown away. I was like, she knows her stuff.
We got to pull her into more Freetrail stuff. That's for sure.
She
came in, computer open, bang, she was on it. She was brilliant. And you were talking about a wise person. One told me the best speakers are the ones who let other people speak. Tony McCann is a really, really good commentator and speaker.
Yeah, she also gets you inside the mind of the athlete, and that is hard to do and awesome to hear as a listener.
It was like when Jim came on the Western States broadcast this year. It was so cool to hear the perspective of people. In Jim's case, a 4-time Western States champ. In Tony's case, an OCC and a CCC champ, knows what it takes to compete at the highest level and has those very unique insights. Plus the combination of your accent, Keith, with the South African accent. It was easy listening for the English audience.
No doubt.
So, Tony is also very knowledgeable and very aware of the data analyst, is Joseph. And who was supporting, who has supported Ruth and was supporting Tom this year. And Tony was like saying, he's great if you're a geeky, nerdy athlete. And Tony's like, I am not. I'm more of a feel person. So Joseph is wonderful for those two because Ruth and Tom are proper nerdy athletes. So this was kind of a good perspective.
Actually, I talked to Ruth about this, and what she said is, honestly, I don't really understand it. I just listen to sort of what he prescribes and I do it.
Right.
But she's like, it's just not really who I am. Right. I recognize the value in it, but I don't go deep into it. I want to set up a podcast with their coach, Scott Johnson, and this data science guy to talk about the process, because I think that would be really
that's going to be
really,
like
really
you should
revealing.
call that one Sweet Spot.
Okay. So I've got a bunch of race week stories I want to sort of bat around with the three of you here. But before we do, again, a big thank you to Hoka for supporting our coverage here throughout the week. Go grab that Mafate 5 at Hoka.com. I was just ripping that thing up to the pie hut today, dancing downhill like a champion. I felt like Jim Walmsley out there, all because of that great footwear, the new rocker integrity technology. You got to check it out for yourself. Hoka.com, Mafate 5 race week stories. This is where we're going to start providing some amazing graphics. And again, shout out to Travis Longcar, Freetrail's advanced analytics department, who set up a great new platform for us to visualize a lot of the information that's coming out of the sport now. Brett, if you can cue up the medal count for 2025 here, I think the audience will dig this. I sent this to all three of you guys, so would love to get your perspective. But what the audience is looking at here is the medal count for the UTMB World Final events, OCC, CCC, UTMB, obviously using the Olympic model, first place gold, second place silver, third place bronze, to see where the nations stacked up. We've been talking all week, of course, in 3 or 4 weeks from now, we're going to be doing this again at the World Championships, where this will be even more of a narrative. But at UTMB, it's always fun to see how the countries are performing. The United States brings home the top spot with 4 medals this year, 1 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze. Italy, Team GB, and Poland, all with 2. Again, Poland, interesting to see their rise. And then Kenya, which we'll talk about in a bit. New Zealand, China, France, Norway, Switzerland, Germany, Spain, all with 1 medal apiece. comments on generally the national distribution here?
Well, I would just say Americans historically have led the attrition rate in UTMB. And I think
this is a nice change.
I think this year is, I think, a recognition that Americans are figuring out how to come here and do it. And a lot of these Americans are coming here for months at a time. You know, Jim came and spent 2 years. It was a 2-year project for him. But you had almost every athlete that was on those medal counts were here all summer. Very few just showed up. You know, Ben Deeman lives. He's European as they come.
Great point.
And so, you know, Drew was here for Lavaredo. He went home, but he came back and he knows it well. And so it was an incredible week. The other thing that really sort of caught my eye on that medal count was the fact that the French only have one. I mean, the French typically are not the attrition country. They're the ones that just consistently get it done. Yeah. And so and even UTMB this year, there was just more attrition with the French athletes than I expected. Yeah. And I sort of, you know, you always wake up on Saturday morning like, who's left? Yeah. You know, because what happened when you went to bed on Friday night and you wake up Saturday morning, it's a totally different game. And I was surprised to see, you know, sort of the French attrition.
Yep. Go ahead, Keith. Did you have something?
2 things. One, obviously, well done to Tom and to Josh for pushing the Brits up the table. And just on to Topher's point, I think it's going to be a very different conversation at the World Championships. I know you're going to be. The French team have this rule. It's about 30 days. So a French athlete would not be running here if they're running in the World Championship. So I think there's a reason why France is not as high as they generally would be. And maybe in the post-World Championship conversation, I think USA and France are probably the 2 countries that are going to be considered the strongest nations there. So
and
I think
France is really
you could probably keep this slide, keep this and have a similar one and then see... You probably the 2 together would be a good combo slide.
Hey, we also Americans. I mean, no Zach Miller here. I mean, there were people also sort of respecting doing both. So I think even for some of the Americans, I don't know how many are doing both, but it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. So we'll obviously revisit this.
But just so I get let into the country tomorrow when I land. Yeah, I mean, well done, USA. Brilliant job. Well done. Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time to talk about a couple of streaks that we haven't mentioned at all this week, except for in our first show, Top 10 Storylines. There was 5 consecutive American women's victories in UTMB. That streak was broken by Ruth Croft, and you reminded me that there was a 7-year streak for French men.
Yeah, it's almost like dynasties, if you like, in UTMB. So yes, and even Martin Gaffuri's like, seriously, is that right? So between 2012 and 2018, the French men won 7 consecutive victories. That was the Xavier Thévenard, Francois Dan kind of predominantly dynasty. So so the 2 dynasties that have existed throughout the UTMB so far. This was the 22nd edition. So it's time for maybe some new dynasties to form. But we love our statistics, don't we?
All right. So speaking of dynasties, Brett, if you could pull up the nationality distribution for the last few years, the next graphic. This I was surprised to see. This is the 3rd straight year that the U.S. has led the medal count across the UTMB World Final events. So, storyline: does the U.S. own UTMB now? I mean, the narrative,
it's a strong showing, but let's let's ride it out. Still.
Going back to the year that Jim finally broke through for the men and won UTMB last year and this year, we've led the medal count each year. Our audience is looking at that graphic on the screen now, but a fun retrospective look at this medal count thing, because this is the first time we've incorporated it into our broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, between the women's side is incredible from an American perspective. I mean, we've had multiple women champions over from its inception all the way through 2024, and then if you sort of combined the U.S. with a UK or call it a English speaking mother tongue. That count would even go higher on the men's side. But we've only had only one American men's champion ever. So I think there's still work to be done there. And I think there's still, eye of the tiger in a lot of American men that want to be that second male podium or male champion of UTMB.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kim, I like the humble approach, and
Don't want to jinx it.
I think we saw in 23 and 24 how China was in the top 2 or top 3 overall.
Yep.
This year, even though if we're looking purely at top 3 in the men, I think there was 3 Chinese athletes in the top 10. Yep. So I think the Chinese athletes, and it was interesting talking to the Chinese team, the commentary team, about the challenges for the Chinese athletes. And one is, first of all, getting a visa to come here.
Yeah. 2
is spending the time that you need to here. They do feel really homesick when they do come here. Mm-hmm. The language, the food. So but they're on a steep learning curve. Yeah. And I think more and more of them, we've seen more Chinese athletes this year if we went deeper on the top 10. And I think that is just going to get deeper and deeper. So there's a lot of interesting things. Yeah. The US for sure, more males in the future, perhaps winning. The French team, and then some of these other emerging nations. Yeah. 121 nations in total represented this year. I think it's the biggest ever total of nations showing up at UTMB.
Yeah.
So it's truly a global sport.
Very cool. And it is only a matter of time until we see a Chinese champion at UTMB as well, of course. Yao Miao has won both.
Yeah, you've been apologizing all week for this.
Well, I just can't wait. I can't wait. Yao Miao's got to get that triple crown like Ruth Croft. Bringing up our next graphic here, we did also a medal count by brand team. Yep. I think our audience will find this interesting too. Brett, if you could pull that up. What we see here, Hoka runs away with it. 6 medals across 3 races. So, of course, 6 medals per race, 18 in total. That means Hoka, 30% of the medals here at UTMB 2025. Solid work from the Hoka team.
Well, I mean, it's their event, and their athletes absolutely focus on each one of these OCC, CCC, and UTMB as their A-level race. Mm-hmm. But, that being said, it's always hard to execute on game day, and they really did. I mean, it was an exceptional year for Hoka. I think ASICS was sort of the surprise. Brand, I think, that sort of came out of this week's performance, obviously with Tom and Ben.
And then it was Andre Witek in OCC also was third place. So ASICS had a really great showing here, and your boy Scott Jurek did some beautiful content around it. All right, so let's just tick through the list. So Hoka was first with 6, Solomon and ASICS tied with 3, and then Norda, Adidas Terrex, the North Face, Nike ACG, Kailis Fuga, and Kraft all with 1 apiece. Pretty interesting. The last graphic I want to show is a Borda point score. Did you have something?
Wait, I have one thing on the brands.
Yeah.
I'll have to admit, I think the North Face Flora kits were kind of the coolest of what was seen here this week. Yeah. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, we'll do our official Debo's Extremely Correct kit rankings on a future show, okay? So that's
one more comment here, and that is just that, this list is an example of the professionalization of the sport. Yeah. Like the brands are committing to the athletes, and they're enabling the athletes now to train the way they want to in a professional way. And it's great to see this distribution across the brand network, the best brands in the world. And so it's really fun to see the energy and the resources the brands bring into the athletes to unlock their potential.
Great point.
And one more thing on the brands. I mean, I would say surprising would be Solomon on there, because I feel like Solomon historically has really had great results here. I mean, they have a lot of incredible athletes, but they just weren't in the top 3 spots.
Yeah. Well, they were actually second. So Solomon and ASICS together.
Okay.
Yeah. So, decent showing. But I mean, really, I think the story is Hoka was very strong this week. And we have one more graphic that's going to show this in a different way. So Travis, again, the king of trail technology, Freetrail's advanced analytics department, put together a top 10 by Borda points. When what that means is, one thing Jim Walmsley said in our show yesterday was he thinks that we ought to attach more significance beyond just the win and the top 3. And really it's about, like, if you finish top 10 in any of these races, it's a sick career defining result. And this sort of helps us visualize that. So what the border point score is you get 10 points for first, 9 points for second, 8 points for third, descending down 1 point for 10th place. So this gives us a visual of how the brands fared through the entire top 10. Again, we see Hoka way off the front here. This is where ASICS shows up as the second strongest brand, Salomon in third, Terex in fourth, and then you guys can see the rest yourself. And again, you can see all of this at fantasy.freetrail.com. Go to the stats tab, navigate to analytics, and you can see this all for yourself for those who are just listening in the podcast feed or want to revisit it. And a big thank you to Travis for putting this together. We're going to build this out a lot in future years. And yeah, we'll continue to revisit it, not only at UTMB, but at other races.
The brands are going to love you for it too.
Yeah. Well, I texted this to the Hoka team today.
Yeah.
And apparently they were in a meeting and they said they were passing the phone around to,
that's nice for next week's recap PowerPoint from the team managers.
There you go. I'm happy to be of service.
And just like, what about next year's UTMB? Like, right, Dylan, you signed, there you go. That's the deal done now with that graphic.
Right.
Good job.
Okay, so a couple more things I want to get to. We've talked about it a bunch, but just want to reemphasize. Massive storyline. Kenya wins a world final event for the first time here. We just talked about China, these emerging nations, Poland. Kenya's here. We've been talking about, does this open the floodgates for the East Africans in years to come? Anything you guys want to add here before we keep going?
Well, I think two things. OCC was absolutely incredible. I mean, Jolene was amazing. I mean, to see her sort of stop for a moment, stretch it out, just near the finish. And both OCC races were super, super tight.
Yep.
And, I think, like we were saying earlier with the brands are now committing to the athletes in a way that athletes from every country that are the best in the world can look at trail as a means to earn, a living, not a secondary fun activity that they want to professionalize. And so I think for countries that maybe didn't have access to these big primetime events because they could earn more money in marathons or half marathons on the road, now have that opportunity to earn at least significantly more than they were in the past. And again, I think that's a big evolution or growth of the mindset of the brands out there that are committing to trail running. And I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, they've getting a lot more prominence and coverage in the Golden Trail World Series than they are on the UTMB so far. And I think this was the first time that Jolene's here. Yeah. And so a lot of the folks who maybe don't follow that series are now all of a sudden, oh, wow. And so I think this is just literally, Jolene in a way is like pioneering for many, many more to come.
She's a very cool, special athlete. We had her in for a champions interview too. She actually signed our OCC poster here in the background. And she is going to be a leader of this new trend and this new phenomenon. My way too early predictions for 2026 is that we may have double Kenya victories at OCC next year. But
my Jolene highlight, sorry, Kim, was Kim and Jolene out on the course with Kim on the first climb.
Dude, in our interview with Jolene, she's like, I was like, so why did you choose to do this? Because there isn't a lot of precedent. And she's like, oh, I was texting with my friend Courtney and she said, I do 170K. And she goes on, and I'm like, do you mean Courtney Dauwalter? She's like, yes, I do. And I was like, so even you, Courtney, is inspiring to do this stuff.
It was such a beautiful moment. There was so many Courtney beautiful moments, but that so early on was like, wow. That was almost, if you like, two people that are going to, one's already set the trail world on fire and another one is beginning to do the same. So it was kind of like that. Sorry, Kim.
Well, I was just going to say, UTMB this week, this is the biggest international trail event besides the World Championship. So this is the place where we're going to see new stars coming.
I want to see, and probably the Millimani trail runners having a space inside the expo and, kind of articulating their culture and everything, and encouraging people maybe to go and visit that area or whatever. So it's only a matter of time now. But it was that was great.
I'm hoping to try and do a show also with I forget the guy's name, but the sort of coach and organizer of the Milimani team in Kenya. I think that'll be an interesting story to tell.
Top 3 OCC. So we had Kenya, there was China, and there was, help me with the third
Switzerland.
spot.
Yeah,
Switzerland.
Judith.
So it was like, that was kind of from the UTMB's point of view. They were kind of covered with kind of like East Africa, Asia, and Europe. Yeah. So that was kind of a nice moment, I think, in terms of showing the diversity, or the beginning of the diversity of the sport.
Yeah.
We're not diverse enough yet, but the journey.
So this leads me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is Trail Runner of the Year watch. Of course, exiting UTMB, a lot of things have shaken up, and it gives us a chance to step back and view the season in context now. My mind, Joylene Chepneno, Francesco Pupi are the leaders in the clubhouse to secure the 2025 Trail Run of the Year. But all of a sudden, Jim Walmsley's back in the convo after his Chianti win. Tom is undefeated. Ben Demon's having a sick
Let's
season.
get Ben to the U.S. to do a race too.
Yes, maybe Ben will come to Western States next year.
That would be amazing.
It would be so great. Maybe we could get him to Javelina here in October. Come on, Ben. Any comment? I mean, you guys don't need to add anything here, but it's always fun because these races have so much significance. They oftentimes do kind of vault people not only ahead in their careers.
I do think Keith's point of like OCC is this bridger between the Golden Trail World Series, which has been a terrific way to build that shorter distance trail talent, and the longer distance trail talent, but Elosine is certainly would be on my list on that shorter distance. He didn't race here. Yep. I think he was on the start list, but didn't end up racing.
Yep, at ETC.
And then I think we're going to have a whole slew of additional names coming out of World Championships. Katie Scheid is always on my list. She's also undefeated. But Tom Evans, Ruth Croft, had amazing performances here on the biggest stage. And so I think it's as always, the voting's gonna be hard. Come the end of the year.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on. If we're ready, the Western States UTMB double. We talk about it every year. This year, it was a tough year for those who attempted it. So I just wrote down a few names that came to mind. Chris Myers dropped out, who was second at Western States.
And he was in CCC.
CCC, right. So this is for all the events. Yeah. Fu Zhaozhang, also second at Western States, was like 15th or something. We were chatting with the Hoka team here today, and she apparently made the statement that next year I'm only going to do one of them, figure out which one it is, but felt like it was too hard. Jeff McGavro, who was fourth at Western States, fastest debut ever, DNF'd. UTMB. Emily Hawgood slogged it out. 30-hour finish.
Impressive.
38 hours.
38-hour finish?
She finished at 8 a.m. this morning.
Oh, my gosh.
Warrior.
Emily, you warrior. Incredible.
Champion mindset right there.
Yeah. Dan Jones, we saw him out there smashing some brews last night. Good for you, Dan Jones. 5th place at Western States, DNF'd. Abby Hall, Western States champion, DNF, UTMB. Hannah Allgood is maybe the one exception. She was 7th at Western States. I think she was 13th or 14th in OCC. So a tough turnaround from 100 miles to 50K.
And a tough day on the course for her as well.
She wanted to stop, but
really,
she actually called one of her coaches and then encouraged her to continue. And she got it done.
I mean, that's still a good result. I mean, if you go and look through like 10, or like 20, 30 deep in any of these 3 races, you see a lot of familiar names. Like a top 20 now is something that should be celebrated. So Hannah did well. Fiona Pascal, I forget what she was 5th at Western States, and then she was in CCC, but I think she was one of those like sort of in the teens or sort of low 20s.
I think so, because I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
We were asked early on, and I don't know on that one, so sorry, Fiona.
Anyway, what I'm getting at here is, are we getting close to the end of seeing this? Hard Rock is sort of a counterexample, which I want to get to also, but I don't know. This year, there was only 3 of the top 10 men did any distance at UTMB. So it was, but again, it's a world championship year, and the world championship has more significance now. A lot of those guys opted to do Team USA. Men, or the women's side, I think it was 6 out of the top 10 did a race here, and nobody nailed both. So.
Oh, well, Adam Peterman also, he warriored Western States, and then he got, what was he?
6
at
or 6.
OCC.
Yeah, we chatted with Peterman last time. I'm glad you brought this up because he was only 5 minutes back of the win at OCC. And it's like, it's easy to forget a 6th place victory. The combined margin of victory in OCC for men and women was 90 seconds. 20 seconds of the men, 70 seconds for the women.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, that's where the sport has evolved.
Yeah.
You know, I think to your point on the double, Western States in one of the UTMB races, it's a really good question. I mean, Jim a few years ago sort of declared, I have to pick one or the other, and then he dedicated to UTMB for 2 years, nailed it, and then came back to Western States, nailed it. I've always believed that you can run both, but now at the level of the sport, to race both as an A-level goal is proving to be far more difficult. And Abby Hall and I had a chat yesterday evening as Cordis, her husband, was coming in, and we were talking, and I was like, hey, this was all gravy for you. Like, you can still celebrate that cougar all year long. And, it was interesting. Her comment was like, yeah, maybe that's why it made it a little easier for me to, withdraw drop from the race because if UTMB is your only A-level event for the summer and you didn't have that execution at Western States, then it may give you that little more edge to just fight everything you've got to put it together. And I think when you've got a massive performance at Western States, like a top 10 in your head, and you're grinding it out in chaotic, absolute chaos conditions overnight, your mind just goes to a different place. So I think it's a really hard place to be to do the double, especially when you executed perfectly at Western States.
And Western States just takes so much out of you because you have to run so hard.
Right.
Especially on a hot year.
Yeah, right. And it's like kind of this internal fatigue. Even if your body and muscles are feeling good, it's like that deep reservoir of energy that you need to get around the UTMB course is often absent. But Hard Rock, for some reason, it's closer than Western States, obviously by a couple of weeks, but obviously much similar course. And this is, I think, the 5th year in a row when a Hard Rock winner has been in the top 10 of UTMB also, and only as low as 6th place. So Ludovic Pomeray this year, 1st place Hard Rock, 6th place UTMB. Last year, Ludo, 1st place Hard Rock, 5th place UTMB. The year before that, of course, Courtney won both. The year before that, Killian won both. Right. And the year before that, Francois won both.
Right.
So the Hard Rock UTMB double, if you can get into Hard Rock, you got to do the double. Because the precedent is that, if the first one goes well, the second one's going to go well.
Yeah.
It just proves you need serious climbing legs for this race.
Totally.
And so I think that just tunes you up.
Yeah.
Ben Demon almost kind of killed your mantra about no male winner of Lavredo wins UTMB. It was close. And one thing we noticed as speakers, when we're digging through all the results constantly to give out information, if you look at the profile of an OCC athlete, there's a lot of races already in 25. With the CCC athletes, there's less. And then with UTMB, I know that's logical to expect, but it does seem now that going forward, the 100-mile runners are going to be a little bit more focused. It kind of feel that way. Tom and Ruth, to a degree, are kind of setting that. So maybe this is a good question for the data analysts and the kind of the psychologists and all that. Where's the mindset going now? Is less going for the quality over quantity? I don't know where that's going right now, but but Tom did say there is the downside. If all your eggs are in one basket and you have a bad day, it could be a stomach issue that Yeah. So, but that's the downside of that strategy. So let's see.
Yeah. Okay. So just a few quick.
Sorry, Fiona Pascal 15th, Hannah Allgood 14th.
Okay. Thank you for that, Keith. So solid for both, in terms of the double. Again, top 20s, I think, in these races are great, but I'm sure both wanted more from their OCCs and CCCs respectively. A couple more fun and brief things before we wind down here. In our prediction show, Keith, you and I made stone cold locks. This is our bet the farm. It's 100% gonna happen predictions. I predicted 4 dads in the top 10 of UTMB at least. It was 5. So
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's
Keith,
a great prediction.
Thank you. Yes, I had a lot of conviction and I was proven right. Keith predicted 3 Brits in the top 10. You got 2 and on the podium. So, I count that as a win for your stone cold lock.
If we'd kind of captured that at Champ-Lac, we had 3 in the top 5.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm more than happy to be close with my prediction.
Does that mean we're going to be adding a Debo to that dad calculation
Let's see.
sometime soon?
In this show, every year I make the commitment to race next year, and I never do. So, TDS next year, I'm doing it.
All right. Nice one. And to try and keep our friends in the chat happy on the, we talked to Debo about your kind of like how your prediction about the dads, and we started talking about parent power was kind of a nice PC way of bracing, because there was some fantastic performances from the mothers as well. So yeah.
Joylene and Judith, 4 kids combined on the OCC podium.
Blondine as well.
Yeah. So anyway, great parents out there on the course, providing inspiration for me to get my ass in shape, get my act together, and keep going. Yeah, I mean, Topher, again, maybe the most training volume of anybody in the race, 56 years old. I can't even get off the couch anymore. God damn it.
Yeah, but there's no parent power here, Debo.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
he is my child.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Kim is definitely parent power.
Yeah.
Toph, we did a nice run from Champagne to Chamonix the other day, and my God, did you absolutely smash me. I was like literally verbalizing my agony and grunts and groans on the final couple of miles, just trying to hang on Topher's wheel.
It was pure Debo poetry.
It was great. It was great. All right. Just want to give a shout out to our fantasy winners here. Jamie Allen won OCC, Sindre Barras won CCC, and Patrick Koffel won UTMB. And then a fun thing, Leah Yingling got second in CCC. So
what did they win,
Awesome.
Debo?
they got a bunch of great prizes from Hoka, Sun God, and Freetrail. And we have one very, very, very special prize, a signed poster with all the Hoka champions. So Martina, Jim Walmsley, and Francesco Pupi. We have it hanging on the wall over there.
Nice.
So that's very cool. Okay, Ryan, how many total shows, pieces of things did we put out this week? 32. Including Tom, which will... Okay, so 32 shows and interviews.
Breaking records?
My Google Doc is 67 pages of notes here this week.
I mean, Debo, that's impressive because you are a walking encyclopedia of the sport.
Yeah. Granted, there's a lot of like screen caps of graphics and stuff that we use during the show. So, it's not all like with single spaced handwritten, but it's 67 freaking pages. I should include that. I'll print it out and maybe include that as a prize package. We'll
put that in the history of trail running. It's
be in the archives.
Library. Yeah, it'll be in the history library of trail running.
Meanwhile, Rye probably took 20,000 photos. Brett probably took a couple hours of footage. Harmo probably sent 10,000 texts and emails, leading our communications in so many different ways.
The hours of sleep are probably quite low.
Yeah, Travis back home is crunching numbers and updating fantasy. So shout out to the team who put it all together.
Debo, you see it sometimes in the comments on the YouTube, and the amount of people that are so appreciative of you and the team and the energy. This is getting everyone fired up, and it's a great kind of incentive for people to get out and do your local grassroots sports, or just do a 5K or whatever. So they say it in the chat, and I'm just wanting to echo that on behalf of all the folks who already do that, is that It is appreciated, and sometimes you need that back so you can keep going again. And so, no, what you're doing to also help the sport as an international spokesperson now, as much as you are from the US, I think it has a really positive effect. So we were happy to have you in the studio this year. So thank you. You even fitted in a UTMB live moment as well.
That was a highlight for me, and it's a perfect transition because this is where I wanted to end. Keith, you freaking crushed it this week,
You
buddy.
did.
You really did.
So while I'm like including all of our stats, I wanted to ask you how many hours you were on the broadcast and share with you how much we appreciated it too. And you crushed it along with the team.
Stephanie Case, Martin Gaffori, we had Majel Backhausen. We had all the other 5 languages. So there's Chinese, Italian. So there's 6 studios going on. I was working out, Stephanie and I did about 33 hours of live broadcasting across the 3 days. And we obviously had the wonderful Tony McCann in there. And if I think of 10 years of UTMB Live, 10 years ago, we had a fixed camera in an aid station. We were making up so much nonsense for hours till the next aid station. Now, our job is a dream. It's so easy. You've seen the content, so it is easy. But it's also an honor. And every year I feel the honor when they say come back, because in the future, it's going to happen. All of the athletes are going to be doing the commentary because they have so much insight, and the audience want to hear what they've got to say. They don't really want to hear what I've got to say. I've got some good stats, but the athletes, they are going to be the speakers of the future.
Keith, don't sell yourself short, buddy. Like, honestly, you do such a good job managing the flow of everything and being in the studio just briefly and having done it with you in the past. You prepare a lot. I know you put a lot of effort and thought into it. When I was sitting there, you were off screen, but you're still like crunching numbers, writing notes, passing it to the people who are on set. So we really appreciate your work.
No, there's a new teamwork ethic now. And don't be grumpy if you're off not doing the commentary, because that's how it used to be. Oh, I'm not. You've still got a job to do. And everyone sits there, even if they're off screen, and we've all got stats. And so we can help the others. So there's a support network. So even if you're not on the screen, you can still contribute. And that's how everybody was working. And and a word for the athletes: if you get asked by UTMB Live to come on the show and you say yes, there's a bit of Ida Sophie Hegeman, she said she was going to do the night segment in Courmayeur. Tony said she would do Saturday morning. Those two went on the course. They got injured. Ida Sophie had to go home for a scan. Luckily, Tony's not so bad, but it's like there's a little bit of a hoodoo if you agree as an athlete. So that was said, Antoine, be careful. The athletes will turn it down next year now.
So just don't commit until after your race.
So it's a pleasure, I think. And the chat community this year was the best ever. So much. Liam, your buddy, Aid Station Fireball, he was throwing stats in there.
Shout out to Liam too, because he was funneling me some good information throughout the week too. So thank you, Liam, Aid Station Fireball.
There were so many new faces in the top 10, and we were getting the intel from their friends and everything. Lottie Brink, she's not American. She was born in Germany, but we know the story. So they were amazing this year. They can be, in the past, there's some bad stuff in there. They were incredible this year. It was like we had an extra person in the studio.
Great.
I think the crews are also using that live stream more and more to read how to crew their runner coming in or knowing when they're coming. So I think people are doing that more too now.
Yeah. Any other closing comments from the panel as we wind down here?
Well, I would just say, I mean, UTMB is just a reminder. This is a community building event, and it's a community building week. And it's not about just being physically here in the Mont Blanc region. I mean, the reach of the broadcast, the reach of the media that surrounds the broadcast is reaching the world at unprecedented levels and in a really, really cool way that sort of standard television can't do. And, you know, we had the opportunity to spend a lot of time on the course. Yeah. And it's so cool to come and experience the people, like the mountain culture here. The thing with UTMB is they're running through villages where there's thousands of years of mountain culture. And people come out. If you haven't been and experienced Notre Dame in the middle of the night, or Valourcine, or Col de Foucault, or Grand Col Ferret, you haven't totally experience the global nature of the trail running community because it is different in every country. And here it's just awesome at this time of year. And you don't have to love one and hate the other. You can love it all in all the different formats of trail running. And this was just another reminder of how cool that, trail running is in Europe, because it is mainstream sport here. Mountain sports are mainstream sports. They're niche sports in America, but they're mainstream sports here. And it's super fun to be a part of it, share it with the community. And it's every year we always like to invite in a few people that have never experienced it before and just experience the week through their eyes. And it continues to inspire us. So we'll see you next year.
Beautifully said, Toph. Kim, any closing comments?
I mean, I think, people always wonder, does it keep growing? Is it bigger and bigger? I think it feels about the same. I think the media, I would say, was probably the biggest boost. I noticed more. You guys probably noticed it too, of all the content and coverage. But, it's an incredible event. It breaks hearts. It builds champions, and UTMB. I think it's one of the greatest trail events we've got. So
100%.
Trail riding's gonna save the world, right, Dylan?
That's what we say. Keith, any closing thoughts from you?
Chamonix is like a giant consumer trade show this week at the end of the day. And I think
I like how you've been saying that. And I think it's actually a really important thing.
There's probably nearly 700 media that have been accreditation this week. Consumers are here for the experience of the race, but also they bring an entourage. It's their family, their friends. Then you've got all the influencers that are here. Brands are bringing competition winners to come and experience it for the first time. I met somebody this morning who's here with Hoka from the Cayman Islands, and here to do some work to expand the sport. So it's like and if you put a number on how much money has been generated this week, but don't forget, and they've done this in the past, the amount of people that come here once to 3 times throughout the year to train for this race. So, and this year, Eric Fournier, the mayor of Chamonix, he's up for re-election. That's why he was at the start line the other night.
He's there every year.
This is his big ticket for your re-election, amongst other things. So it's a giant consumer trade show, for want of a better word. And I know you're a big fan of driving Trailcom between Broken Arrow and Western States, but this week now, it is trail running is being really serious, and it is, and this is the challenge now. How do you strike the balance so that there's a positive consumer experience? Everybody goes home with a bag of goodies, cheese, wine, a finisher vest, and a few other things. So, and each brand, the joke, the memes that have been on this week about every shakeout run from every single brand. So now this is it. Every brand is thinking, what can we do better next year? So as a consumer, this is good news because it's just going to get better and better. So if you've not been here before, get it on your list.
Total industry event. And it's funny, and I'm glad you brought this up here at the end, because I just did the classic rip up to the Pie Hut and back down up here on the Plan d'Aiguille, just outside of where we stay. And I saw literally every industry person finally getting out for a run today. So a bunch of brand people, media people sitting up there having an espresso and a pie. So it's a great industry, and we're lucky to make our living within it. Guys, so fun to debrief with you all. It's been another amazing week, and we appreciate your time coming in.
We had a great Freetrail week.
Thank you.
You guys are crushing it.
Thank you so much. Okay, guys, we did it. We have just one more champions interview with Tom Evans, who's going to be in here in just a couple minutes. To our audience, thank you for tuning in all week. It's been so fun to be here. I think this is our 10th or 11th trip with our family. Harmony and I traveled with our son for the second time, but really the first time when he's been coherent enough to have some idea of what's happening. And it's been so fun to see UTMB through his eyes a little bit. And he's always wants to go see the running people, as he says. So little Robo, watch out. 2042 UTMB champion, maybe. We'll see.
Let's go.
We'll see. Although we were a DNS in the kids race this year, because it was just, we have excuses. We're not going to get to that. But anyway, it's just a pleasure to be here and, to be able to do what we do. at all these big races, and especially here at UTMB, is a gift. So thank you to those who watched and listened to all of our stuff. Thank you to Harmony, Ryan, Brett, Travis, all the co-hosts who came in. Appreciate everybody's contributions. Until next time, UTMB 2026. Are we all racing?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Harmony and I are crewing you.
Yes.
I'm in the kids' race.
Thank you all. Peace out.